The foundation of the argument that air condition is sexist is, the Standard 55 guidelines, which regulate office thermostats, were defined in the 1960s to meet the needs of a 40-year-old, 145-pound man dressed in a suit and tie. The articles argue that the office air conditioning standards were set at a time when there were very few women in the workplace, thereby ignoring the temperature differences between men and women. After some research, I traced the basis of the sexism argument to a study by Kingma and Lichtenbelt published in 2015. Now, this study is of special interest for later on in this video, so have it at the back of your mind. Okay, there is some interesting science behind the temperature differences between men and women. Marion and colleagues present 4 categories of differences in thermal responses between men and women. The categories include anthropometric characteristics, including body mass and size, body composition, defined by variations in fat and muscle mass, physiological differences, that is exercising capacity, water regulations and hormones, and social behavior, including regular exercise. This video will focus on metabolism, hormones and muscle mass for the biology and evolution section. Metabolism not only affects the differences in losing weight between men and women, but also body temperatures. According to Orsiero and Yoron, women have a 23% lower resting metabolic rate, which refers to the amount of calories burned by the body during rest, compared to men. The lower metabolic rate in women is sustained, even when controlling for optimal oxygen consumption, fat mass, and fat-free mass. The resting metabolic rate affects neurological and organ function, blood circulation, and breathing. Slow metabolism rates in women have a direct relationship with heat production, which explains the ease of feeling cold following a sudden drop in temperatures. Losing heat at a rate faster than it is produced automatically results in a drop in temperature. Sensitivity to cold due to metabolism gets worse with aging for both men and women. Insulation, or retaining heat, is a common remedy to feeling cold. Common human behaviors that focus on insulation include wearing sweaters. The body also tries to retain heat internally through various mechanisms. For instance, the inability to generate enough heat through metabolism is internally addressed by the body's efforts to insulate tissues through the constriction of blood vessels at the extremities, that is, the hands and legs. Constricting the blood vessels reduces the amount of blood that flows to the extremities, which explains why ladies' hands and feet are colder in most instances. The choice of blood vessels to constrict is based on the need to maintain optimal temperature at the core of the body to sustain the function of vital organs. It is worth noting that women register higher core temperatures. A drop in the core temperature causes hypothermia, and excessive constriction of blood vessels at the extremities causes cold weather-related injuries, such as frostbites. Women have more fat, which insulates the skin from bodily heat while protecting vital organs. Charkautian and Stockenfeld explain that estrogen contributes to the evaporation of heat, minimizes the flow of blood to the extremities, and promotes vasodilation. This hormone-based explanation to cold sensitivity implies that women's bodies regulate temperatures differently throughout the menstrual cycle. However, the authors concluded that men and women fail to show significant quantitative thermoregulation responses to body heating and exercise when accounting for body factors such as body size and fitness. Fitness requires exercise, which Marianne and colleagues linked to cutaneous vasoconstriction. Combining the vasoconstriction with cold-related stress raises constrictor outflow to the arterioles, which minimizes heat loss through insulation. Muscle mass, which is a significant contributor to heat generation, affects the body surface area. Overall, women generate less heat for each surface area unit and lose heat quicker due to higher surface area to volume ratio because of the smaller bodies. More muscle mass in men directly translates to generating heat through the use of calories as fuel. Evolutionary biologists note that human evolution has greatly influenced how bodies generate and lose heat. Men in ancient times were hunters, while women were gatherers. These evolutionary roles implied that women led more sedentary lifestyles compared to men. Over time, men got bigger bodies because of differences in muscle mass. Bigger bodies and increased activity required male bodies to evolve to avoid overheating. A notable evolution is increased sweating, which explains why men sweat more than women. Professor Mike Tipton from the University of Portsmouth notes some exceptions to heat generation as documented by Davis, and I quote, "If a man and a woman were matched together, of the same height, weight and amount of subcutaneous fat, many of the differences in the ability to thermoregulate disappear. Of course, genetic variation dictates that this is rare." A less popular and unknown contributor to gender differences in feeling cold is perception, which mostly manifests in work environments. Thermal comfort is defined as a state of mind in which the body expresses satisfaction with the environmental temperature. Thermal comfort is determined by individuals' abilities to tolerate temperature fluctuations. As mentioned above, female bodies possess greater sensitivity to temperature fluctuations. The battle over the thermostat encompasses the perceptions of the ability to withstand what is viewed as cold environments. Perceiving the environment as cold increases sensitivity to temperature, with the same being true for men's attitudes towards cold environments. Perceptions affect attitudes, which eventually influence behavior. For instance, clothes perceived as fashionable by women increase exposure to the cold. In the workplace, men are often dressed in suits while women wear dresses and blouses. The official workplace dressing for men has remained consistent over the years, evidenced through the citations by the articles highlighted at the start of the video. The choice of dressing, which again, is based on the perception of fashion, increases exposure to cold. The Health and Safety Executive divides 6 basic elements of the thermal comfort model into personal and environmental factors. Personal factors include metabolic heat and clothing insulation. Environmental factors include air temperature, radiant temperature, air velocity, and humidity. Work-related factors, such as task involvement and the complexity of roles, significantly influence an individual's thermal comfort. The King-Mine-Lipton-Belt study in 2015 has been cited by some of the mainstream sources as the basis for determining that the air conditioning in the workplace is sexist against women. Of interest in the study is the fact that the participants included 16 female workers, wearing light clothing, sited behind an office desk, and exposed to temperature protocols. The authors of the study measured a significantly lower resting metabolic rate between the participants and what they termed as the standard man. This measurement guided the conclusion that women preferred higher office temperatures, and mainstream media sources were off the gates with the information by presenting air conditioning as sexist and discriminatory against women. Performing sedentary work results in lower metabolic rates, thereby providing evidence of association between thermal comfort and resting metabolic rate. Kazi and colleagues note that employees doing customer services, sales, and secretarial jobs spend most of the workday sitting uninterruptedly. The employees were characterized with low workability index scores, job motivation, organizational commitment, and job satisfaction. They also had higher BMI, waist circumference, and physiological distress scores. Remember, high fat levels insulate the skin from core body temperature. Kazi and colleagues also note that increased sitting time is associated with cardiovascular issues, some cancers, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. The study also revealed greater sitting time and physical activity reported by male workers compared to female workers. The findings by Kazi and colleagues are supported by Sarah and colleagues. The authors completed a study involving 2,068 government employees and reported that increased sitting time reduces job satisfaction and increases fatigue. PTI documents a study by researchers at the University of California School of Medicine which uncovered that women leading sedentary lifestyles age up to 8 times more than those involved in physical work. Again, remember the relationship between aging and reduced metabolism. Dr. Olsen from the Technical University of Denmark documents some experiments showing that men and women prefer almost similar thermal temperatures due to minimal differences in neural temperatures between the sexes. Lower metabolism in women accounts for evaporative heat loss and temperature. Dr. Olsen observes that women express preference for higher ambient temperatures due to the generally lighter clothing compared to what men wear. Women also express more thermal dissatisfaction compared to men as similar thermal conditions, with increased sensitivity to temperature changes especially when they become cool. ISO EN 7730, EN 15251 and ASHRAE 55 standards do not differentiate preferred room temperatures for men and women wearing similar clothing and doing similar work. The standards were not developed to suit men as claimed in the articles at the start of video, but are based on comprehensive laboratory research of studies involving men and women, dressed in a similar manner, and engaged in similar work-related activities as outlined by Dr. Olsen. Controlling for the clothing and work-related activities presents metabolic heat as a proxy. The thermophysiological model includes the heat balance equation, but is not the foundation of the average room temperature ISO standards. Women's clothing is better suited for the summer weather, while men still wear suit and tie. Dr. Olsen lists some reasons for why buildings could be too cold. These include overcooling air as a strategy to reducing humidity, inefficiency of some air conditioning systems, the perception of effective air conditioning if the room is a bit colder, and energy being cheap, which offers little to no incentive for optimization.